Are you looking for a sponsored visa job in New Zealand? I see this request and question on a daily basis. However, there is a very big misconception about what visa sponsorship in New Zealand really means. So let's clear that up quickly. Hi, I'm Rona from New Life New Zealand. I help people considering to relocate to New Zealand to find the clarity they need to make this life-changing decision and decide if New Zealand really is the right fit for them before they waste a lot of time or make costly mistakes. Welcome to episode 4 in my New Zealand job search strategy series. If you're looking for a job in New Zealand, you've probably heard people talk about visa sponsorship and asking questions, which companies would actually sponsor my visa? And what does sponsorship really mean? I think the word sponsorship is where a lot of confusion starts to happen. In many countries, sponsorship actually means the company pays for your visa costs, your relocation costs, your settling in costs. But in New Zealand, in most cases, that is actually not what it means at all. And people can get this misconception in their minds and then actually get caught out when they find out that is not what it means. So when you see sponsored visa jobs advertised on Seek, you need to be sure exactly what that means and who pays for what. Generally, in New Zealand, sponsorship of a visa and ads and jobs linked to that actually means that the company has registered with Immigration New Zealand, enabling them to employ migrants for specific roles. It does not necessarily mean they will pay for your costs as a sponsorship. It means that they actually support your visa application, and that's where the sponsoring comes from, because they support you. They have already had the costs enabling them to employ migrants. In order for a company to become accredited with Immigration New Zealand, they have got a couple of steps they have to go through that also has costs involved. So they have paid for registration fees. They have paid possibly for advertising the company's roles available. They might have got a recruiter that costs them money as well. They also have costs in the program that they have to follow. As soon as they employ a migrant, there are additional costs and training that they need to adhere to in order to enable them to employ a migrant. So they have already had costs so that they can employ a migrant, and that's where the sponsorship comes from. They have had the expense already before they actually give you that job offer. There are cases in New Zealand where they do actually offer sponsorship in the sense that they might offer you a relocation subsidy, so they would pay a certain amount towards your relocation, or if you want to use that towards your visa, but that would be a negotiation individually, and that usually happens with very skilled, very highly specific professional roles that is very hard to fill. The employer might say, right, we can offer additional things to entice people to actually come over, relocate and bring their whole family over, because that's not an easy task. You're actually giving up your whole life somewhere else, coming to New Zealand. So there are some options like that, and that you will have to negotiate with the employer or see if that's what they offer as part of the employment agreement. In general, though, that is not what sponsorship in New Zealand means. It means that they support your visa application. They are offering you a job that complies with Immigration New Zealand's requirements and rules and regulation, and therefore they're allowed to offer that to someone that is still overseas and not a New Zealander or in New Zealand. So then we get to the part of, well, what are the additional costs that you might still then be responsible for? If the employer doesn't pay, what is it that you need to pay for? And that is why I actually have that immigration budgeting tool in my New Life New Zealand community, so that you can upfront clarity before commitment, know exactly what it is going to cost you to immigrate with your whole family and settle in New Zealand. These figures are really important to know, and they might change as costs go up. You don't want to get stuck halfway through your process and then find out that you don't have enough funding to support your whole family to relocate to New Zealand. Crucial to know this figure up front. So the cost that you will then still be responsible for would be your visa application costs, any requirements needed to enable you to get that visa, which might be a police clearance, medical expenses and costs, usually a chest x-ray. You might need to have your qualification assessed. You might need additional registrations and certifications in New Zealand, like plumbers and electricians, nurses, teachers, and those professions need to have. So, and then you still have your flights for your family. You still have all the visa costs for the rest of your family, any relocation costs if you're bringing furniture over, pets over, and then your if you're renting a space in New Zealand, your deposits, your rent, transport, all those kinds of things. That is all that you'll be able to see in the budgeting tool, so that you know pre-move and the move and the settling in phase, what is the amount of capital that you're going to need to fund your relocation to New Zealand. So when you are searching online again for sponsored visa jobs, just make sure that there's a couple of things you need to check. Obviously, if they're offering a sponsored visa, then they will be accredited with Immigration New Zealand, and you can check that on Immigration's website to make sure that their accreditation is still valid. You also need to know exactly what are the costs that they would cover if they offer you anything additional, and also what you will need to cover and what you need to tick off to enable you to actually apply and be successful in receiving the visa from Immigration for that specific role. All the vacancies from those accredited employers does not necessarily mean that they comply with the requirements for specific visas for migrants either. So it does not mean a company is accredited that they will be able to sponsor a visa for all jobs. The job and role also have specifications and requirements that the job needs to fulfill in order for it to be viable for a visa from Immigration New Zealand. So before you start spending money on your relocation to New Zealand, make sure that you have clarity on a couple of things. Number one, your visa eligibility. You can't start applying for roles if you're not sure that you yourself, your skills, your qualification, your experience actually qualify for a visa to come over to New Zealand that will get you to residency. So that is very important. You need to know what is your immigration readiness. There are 7 immigration clarity pillars that you need to know the answers on, and you need to have a very high score there so that you know you actually can take a job offer when you get one, that you are ready to immigrate. You also need to know what your job application readiness is, what profession you are in, what your assessments are, what the other registrations are that you might need before you can actually start applying for roles. And you also need to know your financial numbers. What is the cost of living in New Zealand that you are going to need for your family, so that you know what job offer is going to be suitable for you to accept. And also your complete immigration budget. What is the total process going to cost you, and in which phase, what number are you going to need to have in funds available so that you can see it through and not get stuck in the middle. If you are unclear about any of the things I mentioned in this video, please join our community so that I can help you get clarity before you commit to anything, before you make costly mistakes or get stuck in the middle of your process. I'll put the link below this video. Next week, in episode 5 of the New Zealand Job Search series, we are going to look at which skills are really high in demand in New Zealand and which roles are on the shortage list. Maybe one of those would fit you like a glove. See you in the next one.